On May 22nd, the next League Battle Deck will launch for $30 US featuring Mega Lucario. Similar to other recent League Battle Decks, the value here is awesome. And if you can pre-order one ahead of release, I highly recommend doing so. That being said, for those of you with too much time on their feet who wait until Black Friday to beat people off in a Costco parking lot to save 10% on packs, there may be a better option. Firstly though, to answer the main question in one succinct sentence, yes, the Mega Lucario EX League Battle Deck is worth buying if you're looking for a pre-made, ready-to-go competitive list for just $30 that will continue to be good throughout 2026 and probably into 2027. It has everything you need, including a 4-3 line of Lucario, 2 each of Lunatone and Solrock, a Fezandipiti, a 3-2 line of Hariyama, and all the relevant trainers. However, once you dive deeper into the economics, it's not quite as simple as a yes or no. That's because of Secret Box. On its own, this is roughly a $10 card, meaning it costs 1/3 of the LBD. Instead, the A-Spec you want is Maximum Belt. For those unfamiliar, you can only have one total A-Spec in your deck, and every deck should have one A-Spec. Maximum Belt buffs damage against the X's by 50, which is perfect for Lucario to KO other high HP Megas. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, so let me break it down as simply as possible. To buy every card in the League Battle Deck on its own, you'll be spending roughly $30. That's the same price as buying the deck altogether. So you could spend $20 to get the 59 other cards, foregoing Secret Box, then spend one of the $10 left over on Maximum Belt and have money to spare. Obviously, you have to deal with things like variable pricing, shipping fees, and stock issues when buying singles, but if you're willing to put in the work, it's actually more smarter to get them all individually. Okay, with all the boring economics out of the way, what are the improvements you should make to the League Battle Deck? Without breaking the Verbank, the first thing you want to do is swap out Secret Box for Maximum Belt. While Secret Box is great consistency, you should be able to draw enough cards as is. Instead, you need to worry about dealing with higher HP Stage 2s like Mega Venusaur, who have 380. Maximum Belt ups Lucario's Mega Brave to 320. Use one Premium Power Pro, of which there's 4 in the deck, that's 350. Finally, drop Gravity Mountain like they're my pants when I want to moon someone, lessening every Stage 2's hit points by 30, and boom, you just took 3 prizes. Then you want to take out that Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, which is a $2 card on its own, further saving you money going the singles route. Yes, it's strong, but only at the end of a game. And the 3 retreat cost means if you started as your lone basic, you might be stuck with it in the active for several turns, scrambling like an egg to find your switch. It's too much risk for not enough reward. Instead, you typically want your first turn going second to include Lunatone and Solrock. With both in play, you can use Lunatone's ability to discard a Fighting Energy from hand to draw 3. Then for a single fighting, Solrock deals 70 damage. A lot of meaningful basics like Dreepy and Badoo and Chikorita and Abra and Impidip and Gible have 70 hit points or less, giving you an early prize. And for someone like Riolu, who has 80 hit points, one Premium Power Pro puts it in range. Otherwise, if you go first, it's typically a good idea to get Riolu down and attach an energy to it, because then you're threatening a turn 2 Mega Brave, which has the strength to KO even the biggest Megas. Or if you can bring up a fighting weak Pokemon like Fezandipiti or Meowth, Lucario's Aura Jab can one-shot them, giving you 2 prizes while also accelerating energy. That's why the Lunatone Solrock combo is so important, because Lunatone puts energy in the discard pile, which Lucario can then put into play with its first attack. But how do you dust someone up, and who should you power up? That's where your Hariyama comes in. When you evolve into Hariyama from Makuhita, you can force any of your opponent's bench Pokemon into the active. This is in addition to the 2 bosses' orders, which has the same effect on a supporter. Hariyama also has a great attack, dealing 210 damage for 3 fighting, which you can launch after Aura Jabbing energy onto it. Getting back to what you should remove, 1 copy of Surfer doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The list already includes 2 Air Balloon and a Switch. The 4 copies of Lillie's Determination, which is the best draw supporter in the game, shuffle drawing 8 if you haven't taken a prize, plus the 3 Iris's Fighting Spirit should be enough. I'll freely admit that Iris isn't the absolute best supporter for Lucario, but it does potentially add an energy to the discard pile for Aura Jab to accelerate. All in all, you really only need to remove 4 cards from the pre-built deck, which just goes to show you how good they made it. And by adding in Maximum Belt to replace Secret Box, you have 3 slots left over. Unfortunately, here's where one of the major issues presents itself. Despite releasing on the same day as our 3rd set of 2026, there isn't a single card from this year in the League Battle Deck. Yeah, while the Pokemon TCG might be the cheapest card game to get into, the creators don't always make the smartest decisions, so you won't find PokePad or Meowth EX or Special Red Card, all 3 of whom improve the deck. To keep things as simple as possible, if you can get your toes on 3 copies of PokePad, add them immediately. While you might be shocked at the $4 price tag right now, when Perfect Order comes out on March 27th, flooding the market with extra copies, the price should drop significantly. The reason PokePad is such a great addition is that it freely grabs any non-rulebox Pokemon from your deck. So this one card can find Riolu, Lunatone, Solrock, Makuhita, or Hariyama, but not Mega Lucario or Fezandipiti. Along with 4 Ultra Ball and 4 Fighting Gong, which grabs either a Fighting Basic or Basic Fighting Energy, getting the Pokemon you need when you need them is breezier than wearing a kilt with no underpants. Then there's Meowth EX. The price won't be known for a couple more weeks when singles become available, but it'll likely cost around $20 to $30. If that's too pricey, don't worry. The included Fezandipiti is more than suitable to help you, drawing 3 cards after someone's knocked out. Should you have a spare Queen Elizabeth laying around though, Meowth is great, turning an Ultra Ball into a supporter. So if you have a dead hand on turn 1, it can find Lilies. Or if you need to boss's order somebody up for a game-winning knockout late, it can find that too. Additionally, Perfect Order has something called Rocky Fighting Energy. This protects the fighting Pokemon it's attached to from effects of attacks. The biggest one is Alakazam's. But Rocky Energy can be enhanced hammered away, which Alakazam typically plays 2 copies of, so it's not 100% necessary. If you do decide to play it, just be aware that Lucario can't Aura Jab it into play since it's a special energy. So if Rocky's in the discard pile, it's stuck there. As for Chaos Rising, which again comes out on the same day as the lead battle deck on May 21st, there's only one card to add. That is, of course, Special Red Card. Affecting your opponent's hand in 2026 isn't as easy as hitting that subscribe button. Special Red Card changes that. When they have 3 or fewer prize cards remaining, they shuffle their hand, put it on the bottom of their deck, then draw 3 cards. It's extremely disruptive and can create an opening for you to penetrate. Expect almost every deck to play at least 1 copy once it's available. To quickly sum up everything I just said, the quickest and easiest way to improve your Lucario lead battle deck is by getting 1 Maximum Belt and 3 PokePad. The price of Maximum Belt will hopefully stay around $1, but keep an eye on PokePad, which might go down to as little as $1 in the next few weeks. That's because it's included in 3 of the 4 Perfect Order pre-release kits, as well as an uncommon in the small Perfect Order set. Before, the pull rates for PokePad and Ascended Heroes were atrocious, jacking off the cost. Once you've done all that, this is what your Mega Lucario deck will look like. Aside from the somewhat unnecessary 3rd Makuhita and Iris's Fighting Spirit instead of something like Carmine, this deck is close to what's currently winning tournaments in Japan. Yeah, for those coming over from Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, you can build a Tier 1 Pokemon card deck for $30, not $300. But what if you prefer getting the cards for no money, instead paying for them in psychological damage? That's right, it's time to show you the value on Pokemon TCG Live. If you watch this video as soon as it goes up, first off, you're awesome. Second, there's a free Mega Lucario deck given to all players until March 26 simply by logging in. If you miss it though, we'll probably get another one for all of 2026, so don't fret too much. What you're seeing on screen is the trade credit value you get on PTCGL when opening the 5th copy of a card you already own 4 of. Yes, it's more math. But the whole point of TCG Live's economy is to amass trade credits which you then spend to craft any card you want. To spare you the overly confusing details that I barely understand myself because the dev has made so many nonsensical changes to the economy over the last 4 years, the Lucario deck is not good value on TCG Live. If I added up everything correctly, which is a bigger stretch than Hitmonlee's foot going into my mouth, Lucario slots in as the worst league battle deck in terms of credit gain. As always, you should only be spending your trainer points on the 6-pack Celebrations bundle in the shop. Unless you're in a hurry for some trade credits, then the Shadow Rider and Ice Rider league battle decks from July 2022 are great at boosting your credit score. But just those, since there's some overlap between the two. Anything else is just a waste. As a reminder, I kept this upgrade guide as simple as possible. If you really want to improve Lucario, swap out the 3 Iris's Fighting Spirit for either Carmine or Explorer's Guidance. Carmine works on turn 1 going first, giving you a chance for even more explosive plays early. While Explorer's Guidance is destructive, it lets you churn through your deck even faster. At least one Judge is also a good idea, so you can force them to shuffle their hand and draw 4. But when Special Red Card comes out in May, Judge becomes less important. Additionally, once you get intimately familiar with Lucario, Wally's Compassion and Cypher Maniac's Codebreaking become options. Wally fully heals Lucario at the cost of putting all attached energy back into your hand. With 340 hit points, it's probably surviving a hit unless you're facing a Psychic deck, and it only needs 1 energy to Aura Jab. As for Cypher Maniac, it allows you to put any 2 cards on top of your deck, which you can then draw into with either Lunatone or Fezandipiti. Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon also gives you an alternate attacker who can't be damaged by those within ability, meaning it can be a game-winning card in certain matchups. Finally, swapping Gravity Mountain for Team Rocket's Watchtower. This stadium removes all abilities from colorless Pokemon. So now their Meowth EX is useless, same with Mega Kangaskhan, Dunsparce, Fanrotom, Noctowl, Ursaluna, and more. Ultimately, despite all the things I talked about, the Mega Lucario League Battle deck is still great value for $30. And if you buy it on May 22nd, all the necessary upgrades might cost less than $5. But if you want to put in the work, you can acquire all the best cards for around $20 once you skip Secret Box and Blood Moon Ursa Luna. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go watch TikTok for several hours to undo all this thinking I had to do for the video.